Okay, let's talk about perimenopause. It's something literally every woman on the planet will go through, but for some reason, it's still wrapped up in all this silence and just a ton of misunderstanding. So today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the 10 things you really wish someone had told you about this universal, yet strangely silent experience. Let's dive in. Does this sound familiar? You head to the doctor feeling, well, not quite right. Maybe you have this whole list of weird symptoms, or you just feel off. But you're told, oh, it's just stress, or you're fine. And the worst part? They run a blood test and tell you everything's normal. It is so frustrating, so confusing, and I promise you, you are not alone. This is a story we hear over and over again.
So let's kick things off with the first big secret, the timeline. I think most of us picture menopause as this thing that just happens in our 50s, right? But the journey to get there, that's a completely different story. And it brings us to our first couple of points.
Okay, thing number one that nobody tells you. It starts way earlier than you think. Perimenopause, which is the whole transition leading up to menopause, can actually start in your late 30s or even your mid-30s. And that leads right into thing number two. This is not a quick phase, it's a marathon. It can last anywhere from 4 to a full 15 years before you officially hit menopause, which on average happens around age 51. So if it's not about age, how in the world is it diagnosed? Well, here's thing number three you absolutely need to know. It is not with a blood test. Nope. That normal test result you might have gotten, it's pretty much meaningless here because your hormones are on a wild roller coaster. I mean, they're changing day to day, even hour to hour. A single test is just a tiny snapshot of a moving target. The real diagnosis is based on your symptoms. That feeling of being off, that's your data. Trust what your body is telling you.
And you are definitely not just imagining things. About 85% of women experience perimenopausal symptoms. Just let that sink in for a second. 85%. Whether they connect the dots to their hormones or not, the symptoms are there. This makes it one of the most common, yet somehow one of the most unrecognized health experiences for women.
All right, now let's get into those symptoms because I promise you, it's so much more than just hot flashes. Some of the changes happening in your body can be downright bizarre, and they're almost never connected to perimenopause in our minds. So this is going to be a rapid-fire list of things nobody mentions. Number 4, your hair. We're talking thinning, breaking, your whole texture changing. It's incredibly common. It affects about half of all women going through this. But we almost never link it back to our hormones.
Number 5, your joints. Do you suddenly feel like the Tin Man from The Wizard of Oz? Aches, pains, stiffness, and there's even something called frozen shoulder, which is so common in middle-aged women that even orthopedic surgeons often miss the perimenopause connection. And for number 6, get this, your ears. Tinnitus, that constant annoying ringing sound, or suddenly dry, itchy ears, or even subtle changes in your hearing. Yep, this can all be part of the same hormonal puzzle.
And this just explains the why of it all so perfectly. What do hair, joints, and ears all have in common? It's estrogen. You see, estrogen is this super powerful anti-inflammatory, so as its levels start to drop, inflammation starts to rise, and we have estrogen receptors everywhere, in our hair follicles, in our joints, in our ears, so it feels like this totally random collection of annoying ailments is actually just your body responding to one big central change. Okay, let's shift gears and talk about what's happening upstairs. The impact on our brain and our mood can be one of the toughest parts of this whole transition. We're talking brain fog, sleepless nights, and this unfamiliar, really intense anger. Let's start with thing number 7. Your sleep gets totally sabotaged. According to Stanford Lifestyle Medicine, a jaw-dropping 40 to 60% of women in perimenopause have trouble sleeping. The hormone that helps you sleep, progesterone, just takes a nosedive. That makes it hard to fall asleep, stay asleep, or just wake up feeling even remotely rested. It's like a biological setup for exhaustion. And then there's number 8, perimenopausal rage. It is real and it is biological. This isn't just being a little irritable. It's this intense, physiological power surge of anger. As our calming hormones like estrogen go down, the alarm system in our brain, the amygdala, goes into overdrive. It becomes hyperreactive. So things that used to be just minor annoyances can suddenly feel like huge existential threats. It's a neurobiological event, not some kind of personal failing.
And I just love this reframe from therapist Annie Wright. What if that anger isn't something you're supposed to just stuff down,
but something you should actually listen to. It's information, it's a messenger, and it's delivering a critical report on what you need, where your boundaries are being crossed, and all the stuff you've been putting up with for way too long.
So the big question is, if all these physical and mental shifts are so incredibly common, why are so many of us left in the dark, feeling like we're going crazy? Well, the answer isn't about you, it's systemic. There has been a massive, critical failure in women's healthcare.
And that brings us to thing number 9. Get ready for this number. About 80% of doctors get little to no training on menopause in medical school. For most of them, it's not even part of the core curriculum. Now, this isn't about blaming individual doctors. It's about a gaping hole in our medical education that directly harms half the population. This huge knowledge gap is only made worse by all the misinformation out there. More than 20 years ago, this one flawed study created a worldwide panic, linking hormone replacement therapy, or HRT, to breast cancer. The media went nuts, and a whole generation of doctors and women became absolutely terrified of it. The actual corrected data? It shows no statistically significant risk for most women, but that old, wrong fear still has a death grip on how medicine is practiced today.
And here is the direct, heartbreaking result of all that. Because of the lack of training and that lingering fear, a staggering 75% of women who actually go looking for help for their symptoms are either dismissed or get no treatment at all. They're told it's all in their head or that they just have to power through it.
But listen, it does not have to be this way. The story doesn't end with you being confused and dismissed. There are real, concrete steps you can take to manage your symptoms and fight for your own health. You absolutely can take back control.
Okay, so lifestyle is your foundation. As estrogen goes down, we lose bone and muscle mass really fast, so strength training becomes completely non-negotiable. Eating enough protein is key to support that muscle growth, and focusing on electrolytes can help fight things like brain fog and fatigue. And of course, doing whatever you can to manage sleep and stress is crucial for your mood and your brain.
And this brings us to the 10th and final thing everyone really should know. When it comes to medical support, let's be crystal clear. The North American Menopause Society, a leading authority, says that for most healthy women, modern hormone therapy is the single most effective treatment for symptoms. And it's not just about feeling better now. It's actually proven to prevent bone loss and fractures down the road. So, what's in your advocacy toolkit? First, you gotta find a doctor who's actually trained in menopause. They do exist. You can explore virtual clinics, which have made specialized care so much more accessible. And track your symptoms. Keep a log. This is your evidence. And most importantly, never ever accept it's just part of aging as a final answer if you are suffering.
And this really says it all, doesn't it? The days of just suffering in silence are over. The stigma is finally lifting because we're talking about it, we're sharing information, and we're learning from each other. You do not have to just suck it up.
So, knowing what you know now, that this isn't some mysterious decline that you just have to quietly endure, but a well-defined biological transition that has effective solutions, it just reframes everything. It's not an ending, it's a brand new chapter, and you are in the driver's seat. The only question left is how are you going to choose to write it?